Agora a gente vai falar
Now we're going to talk in a really nice case,
APIX como
good
base
history. APIs as a base,
transformação bancária.
as the bank transformation. I'd like to invite Luiz, CIO of Tribanco.
Por favor.
Luiz, please.
Bom, pessoal, é um prazer.
It's a pleasure to be here with you today, being able to share a little bit about our project of using APIs as one of the critical factors of success to our project, the biggest transformation that the bank is going through. I'm going to share with you, especially from a strategy that we name 2020 strategy, where there are a lot of things that I'm going to show to you. And the API was something strong to accelerate our strategy. The API point of view, we have been talking about this for 2 years. We started talking about this topic 2 years ago. And I think that as majority of the companies that are using or they're beginning to use, we have the journey to assess the market. We saw some possible partners that could provide APIs to us. We selected, we released that to supermarket, to the market. And there's a intense discussion that if you go to cloud or if you keep, we're talking about bank, you have security issues. But we were able to get to a point, so we went to cloud, and after we did that, we started the pilot project, and things started 1 year and a half ago. All the process that I mentioned, it took almost 6 months, and the use of APIs, indeed, started in a slow way with pilot projects. The first one was from, I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but this was creating that momentum, and we had a new strategy, and so we're able to speed that. I divide the presentation in 2 modules. One to talk a little bit about the bank itself. Who have heard about the Triangle Bank or Banco Tribanco?
Maybe 30%. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about our company. I'm going to put into a context of the business of this new strategy. And from then on, we're going to be talking a little bit about the APIs, how useful they have been. And then I'm going to tell a few cases. So who is Tribanco? It belongs to the Martins Group. Martin is the biggest distributor in Brazil for the wholesaler. And it's been in the market for the last 65 years and works with small and medium wholesales, especially supermarkets, but also has different business such as drugstores, home appliance, pet shop. But now we can talk a little bit about what we call the supermarket. Martins has around 350,000 customers that purchase with some regularity from the wholesales, and it has been developing as a mission, as part of its strategy, that it's going to be a distributor that is a partner of the wholesaler. It has been developing a series of solutions that are helping the middle and the small wholesaler to be more competitive, especially against the biggest chains. So a small shop has a lot of problems, especially related to what kind of tools they use. So they are in a little bit of disadvantage. So Martins has been developing a few initiatives, and you can see that some of them help the small and the medium business. And the financial strategy is part of this strategy, and then the bank was born during the 90s. Within this context of this idea to give support for the small and medium business. And some of the solutions, they were so right on the spot, they end up becoming new solutions, new business. So The three card now, it's an administrator, manages some credit cards. So it's a credit card that has the logo of the shop. It has the same brand, so it has the same identity. So usually, currently we have 1 million of customers on three card, physical people from class C, D, and E, regular people. And we need a technology that would capture those card transactions. And we could do a partnership purchasing a technology that was already available in the market, but we chose to develop our own technology of switching and processing technology. And we end up coming to an even bigger business. We decided to have our own adherence for Visa, Master, Elo, and other brands. And then from this year onwards, we started competing with the big adherence, of course, within our market. This month, we are selling it internally, and in October, we're going to go out in the market. And we also have an insurance companies with some package or some insurance that are projected for the final consumer or for business. So those are our companies. And our mission is to be one of the biggest partner of the retail, of the small and medium retailer. And we want to give them support so they can become more competitive in the market. So I brought just a few examples, just one. It's just one from out of 100. So what we do is we get a small retailer, a small shop, and we do that all over Brazil. So we get a small retail that has a lot of troubles, and within some customers we are able to do the packing of the financial companies. So this is one customer. He had a very ugly shop. He had a lot of problems with management, his credits, managing his stock. And this is exactly the same supermarket later on. So we had the University Martins of retail. We had the three card. We had the Tribank doing the financial support. So only to give you an idea of what we do. So just to show you, the customer used to have 200 to 700,000 of income every month. So just to talk a little bit about Tribank and Martins, this was going on this pace until last year. And then last year, Sonada became our new president. Took a look at everything that I showed you, and together we established a strategy that we called 2020, where it goes even deeper on our position within the retailer. So the strategy, we have different ways, but if you could just summarize in one slide, this is a summary of it. So our strategy puts the retailer right in the middle of that community where he belongs to. So we have the product that is already in the store, but we're going to have a digital bank account through an app. I'm going to be showing you a little bit more in detail later on. It's well done, well developed. Any person can do the download of the app, and then on the process of the onboard, he will receive a card. You can also use that card digitally, and he will also have an bank account, where he'll be able to do withdrawals of cash. He'll be able to do QR code payments, transfer to other bank accounts, to other banks. You'll be able to pay the bills. So it's a whole system that is linked to that retail. And then we're also going to have all of the companies around this place. So we're going to have a gas station, we're going to have another shop. So on our strategy plan, what we're doing is we're developing a business bank account, so they will be able to fit within these ecosystems. and then they'll be able to have their customer linked to that. So our strategy 2020 embraces the community and puts the retailer right in the middle of the whole scene. Of course, this is very summarized. There is a whole lot of products and services that we're going to go within more detail to be able to offer the complete system for the retailer and for the customers. We have no agency, so we are a bank with no agency. We've been working with with internet banking. But as we move for the private person, for the individuals, our approach is completely digital. So in order for us to deliver this challenge, or at least for us to deliver that last year, we built a roadmap fulfilled with challenges. So if there are business challenges or technical challenges, for the technical challenge, we had so many of them. But related to this topic, the biggest challenge we had was the one related to integration architecture. I think pretty much almost everyone that came to the stage talked about their legacy. And when we're talking about Tribank, it's not different. It has over 25 years of history, has a lot of technologies that were developed in-house, different legacies, different card processors with mainframes. So this whole ecosystem that we already had at home, and we needed to somehow develop on top of them the strategy 2020, new applications on a very fast and efficient way, new connections with new partners. So this integration challenge was one of the biggest challenge we had within our technology department. So we took the advantage that we were starting dealing with the APIs, and then we bet on these. And then I'm going to quickly show you. Actually, I'm going to show you in a bit. So in our action plan, we had different technologies. We had a series of projects derived from. And on the integration architecture, we bet on the API. We called it Sensedia. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit of what happened. So on the action plan of technology and business as well, within the technology plan, one of the biggest challenges that was not related to the integration that we faced, and it made the whole difference on the execution of our case. Since we were a very traditional bank, we were very focused in having the control. We have low tolerance to failures, and we needed to develop this whole group of new initiatives, of this new digital. We had no idea how the individual would respond to that. So we had a lot of challenges that we need to change, a cultural change, a methodology change. And this was exactly one of those three pillars that were essential for us to go into a delivery route that our plan demanded. So we implemented all of those Agile technologies, Scrum, Kanban. We put it management 3.0 on the management level. We brought the business areas. On the human resource area was essential. If we did not have them side by side helping us out, maybe we would not have reached the same result. And also the APIs, we're going to be talking about it in a moment. It was essential for us to be able to accomplish the integration of all those new channels with the whole legacy of the last 25 years. And also the digital platforms. Since we needed to develop, and we are having to develop new functionalities, new products, and along the way we have new partners coming up. We discover new things. So we developed a digital platform for individual, for company. So on top of those platforms, we are adding new services. When you take a look from the macro point of view, as we go deeper and deeper on the technical case, we were built on top of those legacies, the APIs. There are some very complex areas. Some legacies are easier for us to plug in. Some legacies were really hard. We had some bank frame that our partner had developed a series of the APIs, and then we were able to talk to their systems. But these allowed us to develop the APIs and reusing them on those different channels. So what have you already developed along this year and a half? We have a lot of things that we have developed them, but if I could just do the summary of them, URA was on-premise, which in-home plugged into our systems, and we had a series of operations from contact center in different cities that used to generate a lot of trouble in doing the management of those operations from different contact centers, and the difficulty that we had to plug in the information from internal and external. So we put all of them in one place. We developed all those APIs, and then we connect all of those centers. So this made it so much easier, new partners to come in and to change partners as well. So that was our pilot project. After that, we've done some applications that we developed. One of them that we have a lot of volume is when we do the payment of bills. So our customers are paying through the internet, mobile banking. It's thousands of payments done every day. And there's only one API that goes on to SIP, gets all the information of that specific bill and brings back the information in less than a second. So that was an example of the API being used and reusing an API on a series of different channels that speed up the delivery of this project. The apps, a series of apps that we've been converging them. So currently we have 4 apps. On the right side, we have the individual app, where you have access to all the information from his credit cards. Then you're going to have one for the legal entity card. And then the blue one is for the individual, and the green one is for the company. Contact center, we have an operation to service the individuals for that 1 million of our customers. So we developed a new front end that we developed with a new partner of us that operates with the call center. So we've done that within every single API that connected that mainframe with the internal systems, and that speed up the service. So service used to be in a different city, came into our city, and now we have the freedom to move those operations from different layers of API. And what we're actually working at this moment is a solution of the ATMs machine. So we have 2 options on that strategy of 20 to 20. So the retail is going to gain a very significant position on that society. So the ATM is actually talking to us about the APIs. So those are just a few examples that we are developing. So I chose 2 that we're going to talk a little bit in depth about them. But before that, something that was essential was the capacitation process. I think people already mentioned that it wasn't easy. City was a partner. We developed a capacitation structure through video, short videos. So our team used to watch a video of 3 minutes long every single day. And then after 30 days, watching the videos, they went inside a classroom, and then they stayed 2-3 days in the classroom. And then afterwards, they had coaching. So we were able to adequate our business with our partners. And then we just got stronger from then onwards. The digital platform for the individual that we are really anxious to launch to thousands of customers. Our goal, just for you to have an idea, is to close up this year with 1 million of customers using this digital platform for the individuals. So our crew is there. I'm going to ask them to present themselves shortly, but this is the project where I showed you that the individual from the neighbor, from the community, is going to do the download of the app, and then he'll do the onboard, typing in his income, He'll do his selfie, put it in all of his data, and then you have the API right at the back of it. So you have the API to do the facial biometry, to do the document recognition, electronic management of documents. And then once the customer goes through this onboarding process, he becomes a customer. And then once he becomes a customer, he's able to do a series of transactions. So if he has a credit card, then the credit card will be virtually accessible through his app. On his account, he's going to have everything that you have in the bank. You have a balance, the balance sheet. He'll be able to withdraw money, to make deposits, to pay bills. And one of the main functions is the payment through QR code. Usually the seller, the retail, when he has a credit card, he usually receives the payment Thursday later. But if the customer pays with the QR code, then the retailer will receive the money right on the spot, because the customer will create the QR code, the retail shop will capture that QR code that the customer has just created, and then he receives right on the spot. And this project was developed in 3 months. We were never able to build a project of this size in such a short period. Of course, we had a lot of help. We had a lot of help from our banker supplier with the scope of the project, but we pretty much built this whole project in 3 months. We had other 3 months to change the layout, the design of the apps, put some extra functions, features, but it's a fact that in 6 months we had this platform for individuals working. Of course, we spent a lot of weekends, we ate a lot of pizza doing it so, but the fact is that we were able to do it. We had some APIs from our suppliers that were able to take some advantage of that. But those APIs, they were developed. First of all, they are internal, so we are using it ourselves, but they are already developed in a model that if we want to open them up, it's very easy.
And there's the platform for the legal entity. Is different when you are dealing with a legal entity from an individual. You pay some taxes and you can anticipate some payments. There are a big amount of payments. So we changed the platform and we did all the onboarding process for the legal entity. We reused a lot of APIs that we did in the individual platform. The legal entity, they do the process, the workflow, they take pictures of the documents, they make a movie, and after we assess them throughout our policies, they have their account. As a final example, is what we're going to release this year. As it's new, we decided last year, this acquiring. In 8 months, we are able to have this. Master and Visa is working with us. We are operating. 2030, we started Friends and Family. Some machines in some retail nets that are our friends, but in October, we are going to the market. We had some APIs, not in that transaction, but in the channels when you're the call center on the website that retail can go and anticipate a payment to check his balance account. So when you have with this new company from a tendency, you have APIs. Just to show some volumes, 2016, when we had the first project, from URA, we had 3 million of calls from APIs. Last year, 300 million. And this year, we are projecting it's higher than that. Around 500 million of APIs. That was an important point. The previous, there were talking about ROI, and that happened inside their homes also. It was fundamental to check different models of investment, CapEx and OpEx. The model that we chose, we started really small. As we were being successful, the projects themselves, that would demand APIs, they would pay for it, and we're increasing investment throughout the growth of the business. So we're able to have that approach with small investment and growing as the projects were paying for the APIs that were being built. As next steps, I would say that we are in the initial phase of growing regarding APIs. There's a lot of things that have been done, things being used, but we need to be more mature regarding our governance department. We saw Kleber talk about the new tools that Sensedia is going to provide. We are going to be one of the first candidates to use those new tools, because it's common to have the projects when you're building an API and you have another team building the same API. So you need to have a more organized process, to have a standardized process. So we are growing. That would be the next step. And to open to partners. We have development partners. We don't have a close radar to bring new fintechs, but our APIs are ready. When we made that decision, it's going to be used to get the APIs and open them to the market, to develop a more attractive website, and that would be it. Some people here with me from my team is Giba, Vinicius, Dutra, and Heitor. That's the team who built a lot of the majority of what we have seen here. So if you have questions, ask them, not me. We have 4 more minutes. I'm open to questions.
Joia, Luiz. Obrigado.
This case of Tribanco is really interesting, this evolution in a short period of time. My name is Rodrigo. I'm from Redcard. And how did you face the legacy about deliver so fast? You mask those APIs, keeping the legacy, but just exposing that with APIs. I'd like to understand how you faced that challenge. Thank you, Rodrigo, for your question. If you want to invite the people from your company, stand up so I can talk with you during the coffee breaks. Vinicius, Giba, please stand up. Dutra, Heitor, people that you can talk to, that can share a lot of materials and learning. We made a lot of mistakes also. I would say that, Rodrigo, there are a number of APIs that were quite easy. There's a provider of banking score that was almost everything ready. So we developed a layer, we put security, and with that partner it was quite easy. But with others, we needed to develop a backend layer and also microservices, and that layer would talk that maybe the partner needed to do something, but maybe we should go to the database of that partner. When it was an internal application, it was easy. We find someone that analyzed the database, we adjusted the system, we knew the data model. The internal systems are easier. The partner that had this different degree of challenge, with some was easier, with others not that much. We had to work hard to develop that. It's not an easy answer, depends on the level of the API that we were developing.
Oi. Aqui. Onde? Você tinha comentado que
You mentioned that one of the projects, the ATMs access the information through API. I thought this quite curious. And the challenge, the doubt that I have, how can you address the security issues? Because ATM is a transaction that you can have some fraud related to that. First of all, there's the process of security from the channel of the connection. But API has a set of characteristics of authentication when we make sure that the person that's talking to us is that ATM. It's a partner that we trust. And the transaction is going to have the authentication done by the customer. So it is a partner that I trust. And when we open the transaction, we have the elements that give authentication to our individual customer with token, with PIN codes. So when we have the app, we have a code, making sure that the app has our digital bank there. I have a question. You mentioned about banks. Can you talk about this? That there are not a common bank, but we can have some digital platforms that you provide to that. That's ourselves. We don't have another customer that provide the service for us. The POS technology and TEF, it's ours. That's becoming a business this year. So we develop our platform to capture that. There's a switch, and we have something to authorize that. So the customer pay water bill, and it gets here online. Depending on the partner, we tell them online. Some we do that at the end of the day. Sometimes hour per hour, but that's done in house. Any other questions? Yes, we have one more and a final one here. Good morning. You mentioned a little bit fast about open banking. Do you have a strategy when the Tribanco can be open banking, or as a bank as a platform for other fintechs to get closer? I would say that's a nice to have to us today. We have so many challenges to deliver our 2020 strategy. We have in the map, we're going to develop the APIs when we have the open banking. With some adjustments, we can open our APIs, but it's not a concern to us now. Like I said, PS2 in Europe, it's mandatory there. If it's mandatory here, we are going to be close to be open banking, but it's not a concern right now. Guilherme from Allianz Mondial Group. I found it interesting that you mentioning the pilot projects turned to URA. It's a little bit different than what I usually see. So I'd like you to talk a little bit how was the challenge, it was something easy if you started by the worst scenario. What did you think that was not usual? Usually the development team, the communication infrastructure, they are not part of that. And the connections of APIs, looking at telephone and URA is not the easier scenario to deal with, just adding API to that. To be pragmatic, we had a huge problem that would be this number of centers spread that was difficult, this contact center. Our URA solution was outdated, and we wanted to do something to prove a concept, a pilot. So we get all together and we said, can we apply APIs here? We did that architectural model, it worked, and in 3 months we were able to deliver that. That helped the internal sale. But the entire team was engaged. We didn't have a lot of problems regarding the team of infrastructure. We are a small bank, you know. The IT has 80 people, so we are a close team. We believe in technology, and everyone went along. Thank you. I think that one final question. Let's try two. It's a pleasure to meet you. Excellent presentation. I had one doubt when you mentioned about the app that you did in 3 months. I looked here. Why did you choose to do a native app instead of a web one that would disseminate more, especially here in Brazil? Good question. you remember that we have millions of customers to get. That's our 2020 strategy. We want to create a strong identity with the retail. So developing root applications, we can have a user capability more than a web application. And we need to access maybe camera, and we have security issues. We spent some time in that discussion that you mentioned, but when we started, maybe today there are technologies that make it possible. But what's the path that we followed? Developing iOS, Android, and it's basically that. Luis, first of all, congratulations per your case, your bank. I would like you to talk a little bit about the acquiring platform. How are you building that? Is an in-house solution? The market has commercial solutions already. How is that challenge? The in-house is the bank correspondent. When we acquire, the acquiring area is something that we developed in-house, but things that are being done outside. The processor for the acquiring is outside, mainframe, and the ones they're talking about, talking with Visa, MasterCard, but the terminals is the POS, the TEF solutions. But talking about APIs, the development, the biggest challenges was to develop the websites or apps or the contact center operation that where the customer would choose the channel, a web or the app to see to check their accounts. The API is just one, anticipation API. So it was natural to us inside the development, that app situation. We have a standard. Some are partners. We didn't have a lot of stress regarding that. I think that we have time for one more question. No, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Luis. A round of applause to him. An inspiring history.